So this project, the presentation is based on a project sponsored by National University of Singapore. It's still undergoing and will be finished by the end of this year. It's about rural-urban development, coordination of that, and there are two issues. One is urban integrity, and then is rural autonomy. I guess all of us, maybe most of us, living in the city, so I'm an urban planner. Urban planner tend to be like have this attitude of urban-centered. When we talk about urbanization, we talk about city, and the city expand into rural area, and rural area is kind of as a vacuum, right? Then the land will be converted, people will be either migrate to a city or be converted into city residents. So the background of this is a Chinese issue, but also I think it can be applied to many developing or urbanizing countries. So we have actually, during the process of rapid urbanization, we have two domains. One is the city. About city urban interests, about economic growth, about industrialization, about services. Then about people are coming to cities, so we have to accommodate migrants. In China, it's quite a big volume of people moving into cities. But if we talk about countryside, then countryside is about villages. And then it's about their welfare, how they can participate in the process of urbanization. And the most important is villages are autonomous. Villages are autonomous, right? City as a whole. Usually when we plan the city, we should decide where should we build expressway, we should build airport, seaports, etc. So we look at the city as a whole. But in a rural area, village as a whole is a basic unit. I call it rural autonomy. So then usually the urbanization in many countries is top-down, as initiated by developers or by government, and then just slowly penetrate into rural area. Then we call it, this is a process of urbanization. So we are doing two very intensive case studies. One is Nanhai in Guangdong province. Another is Kunshan, which is next to Shanghai. These are considered two models, very prominent models. They have a different approach, but equally apparently successful. The Nanhai, if you can read the map, the first map is 1990, and the second is 2008, so about 20 years. In 20 years, you can see the area is very much urbanized in terms of land area. You see the dark patch is the built-up area, whereas the white area is called farmland. Right? So it used to be a rural county, now it's very much urbanized. This happened to Nanhai. And then Kunshan is the same story. In the beginning is the county seat, then many township centers. But then in 20 years, so Kunshan is also very much urbanized. So these two models, in terms of the result, both are much urbanized, but how they achieve this, the urbanization status are quite different. Okay, first of all, Nanhai is this called bottom-up urbanization. Because there are many so-called village land shareholding cooperatives. They took their village land as their own resources, and they would decide how to develop their village land. So there are about 1,000, maybe about 2,000. There's cooperatives. And then the village is kind of self-contained because they cannot think beyond the village boundary, right? Whatever program, initiative, they have to think about their own village. Other village land is other people's business. So as a result, in the end, we find that lots of land being developed as industrial site. So about 57% of the total built-up area is industrial land uses. From urban planning point of view, is extremely high because this is a very high percentage of land used by factories. All right. So then, in terms of a spatial layout, is very sprawled because there are so many villages. There are about 2,000 villages. Every village has a piece of industrial sites that you see the factory sites everywhere, right? It's very sprawled. So this is Nanhai. And then I have a case. There was a village. The red, the pink color is industrial land. The yellow is village houses, and the green is farmland. So there are three components, right? Farmland and so in 2000, I see this is a situation. But in 2008 and 9, you see there are lots of land being converted into industrial land. So if you can read the map, you can imagine the whole village is an industrial site, right? The industrial site, and it's very crowded because the migrant workers also live in the village, and there are almost none farmland. So if you see this situation, usually we will blame developers are too greedy. They just snatch land and then make it industrial site, then they can make a profit. Or if it's done by government, we will say government is corrupted because they don't live there, they don't care about villagers' welfare, right? The environment is very polluted. But this village is, the management of this village is by themselves. We cannot blame developer, we cannot blame government, it's their own decisions. That is a puzzle. Now why they treat their homeland as a means of making money or pursuing industrialization, right? Why they should do that? Because the environment is very much polluted. This is a Nanhai village, so-called bottom-up industrialization. But then I compare Nanhai with Kunshan. Kunshan is next to Shanghai. Similar status is also a county, used to be called county, about 1,000 square kilometers, about 1 million population. But the Kunshan industrial land much more compact, more centralized into somewhere. Like in the city, we have industrial zones. This area industrial zone, but we don't build factory everywhere, right? So this is like an urban model, very compact. So this is one of the township. This township used to be 3 townships, then consolidated into one. Then we see 3 areas which are heavily industrialized. But then the farmland is farmland and the industrial land is industrial land, so they are segregated, not kind of intensively mixed up, right? And Nanhai is very much mixed up. This is a kind of segregated. So this is called, this industrialization or urbanization is very much planned with a planning. Okay, so then it's their own choice, right? It's their own choice. So village autonomous development, village way of life retained because it's their own decision. They still live in the village. They are not displaced. They are also getting benefit from industrialization. And it's a good model. Sounds good model from below. But the thing is, most important, serious thing is, this industrialization is very unproductive in terms of land use. And urbanization is very much fragmented. So it's called urban integrity. It's fragmented, right? And then in terms of efficiency, land resources very scarce. When land resources are scarce, land should be used efficiently or productively. If it's not productively, then we tend to have this social and environmental problems. Right. So Kunshan is town center. So this probably we are more familiar with. If you ask sociologists, I think they don't care about farmers. They just acquire land. The farmers are replaced. They have to move to somewhere to live, which are not familiar with, and they lose their farmland. Right. So this is the story. But this way of doing land acquisition, industrialization is more productive. It's more productive. And I think this is true. Villagers are not consulted. They are kind of very passive. Okay, the developer or the government comes, I want this land to be developed as a city, and they have to take it. Right? They take a compensation, and they either move to town voluntarily or involuntarily. Depend on if young people happy to move to cities, but the old generation maybe may feel dismayed by moving to somewhere else which they are not familiar with. Now, the most important thing is this one. I compare these two townships, two counties, about economic productivity, so-called GDP per capita. So in the beginning, they are more or less on par in the same level. But over 20 years, 30 years, you see the gap is widening. So Kunshan is becoming more and more productive compared with Kunshan. Nanhai became less productive. I mean, this is a thing, and China has lots of population. So economic growth, we should pursue productivity. So from these indicators, we can tell Kunshan is doing well economically. Then I will say, because now this is only 15 minutes, maybe I'm not sure whether I can make my arguments clear to you. I think local autonomy is what we should respect, right? Local autonomy is important, right? We should make a decision. We shouldn't be kind of told what should be done, what should not be done. This is Nanhai respect religious decisions. But central coordination is equally crucial in high-density region. I highlight high-density region. There are lots of people. Density, about 10,000 people per square kilometers. So if sustainable urbanization should be pursued, probably we may have a balance between autonomy and centralization. So the level of autonomy is related with population density or land scarcity. Now this today's the paper on your table. Premier Li went to Swiss. So they went. Premier Li visit a village. Say China want to learn from Swiss. I'm very worried because Swiss is a very rich country and the population density is much lower than China. How can we learn from Swiss? Is a very big question mark. Right? So we have lots of people, and the farmland per capita is very low, very low. So whether we should grant village autonomy is an issue, is a research question. It's not kind of automatically we should take it. This is a good value. We should, this is good things we should do. No, it may not be a good things because land is very scarce. So then when the density increase, the level of autonomy have to increase, have to go to high level, cannot be at the bottom level. Right, to do with the population density. So in high-density region, autonomous village-led development may not be a boom. If you go to Nanhai, I think Nanhai in deep trouble because of the industry is very low quality and labor intensive, but in terms of the wage to workers and the environment much worse than Kunshan. So urban center development may not be necessarily her very interest. This point may be many scholars may not accept it. But from my two cases, I think urban center development do have credits if we see this Kunshan development. This morning, we see Duke University. Now, Duke University set up a campus in Kunshan. That was the first university in Kunshan. It's a Kunshan Duke medical schools. So why Duke choose Kunshan, not choose Nanhai? I thought probably there's something we should understand. So the conclusion, I hope don't stay within 15 minutes. The conclusion is sustainability for developing countries hinges on their economic sustainability first. And this economic sustainability relies on large extent to the efficiency of their economic development. So underproductive economic development waste resources unnecessarily. So that's add to tension in social relations because the cake is too small to be divided, right? And then heightened pressure on the environment. What happened to the village is because they want to pursue land rents. So because there are lots of villages live in the village, so if the land rents distribute to villages, every person get very small. So in order to have more money, and they have to convert more farmland into industrial land. So that's because of there are too many people live in the village. And then as a result, environment has become a cost. So deficiency of wealth often leads to social injustice and environmental and sustainability. So I know the point is very controversial, but this is the truth. If you have a chance to visit these two counties, I guess we can come to this conclusion. Thank you.